Hi everybody, I hope everyone's doing well. It is so beautiful out here and I'm having kind of an allergic reaction to something, so I apologize ahead of time if I'm sneezing or my eyes are watering or any kind of craziness like that. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Friday. And for those of you that watch this on a Tuesday, happy Tuesday. This is my second in a series that I've kind of termed Strategies for Dealing with a Narcissist. And I have notes, of course, because I always have so much information that I want to convey. So this is number 2. If you missed the live, I'm gonna upload all of these to YouTube as well. I don't know, am I allowed to say that on Facebook? So you'll always have access to this content. And if you want to go back and rewatch it or you don't catch the whole thing. So I touched on this a little bit in the first live that I did, which was really just an introduction for what we were doing. And that is the very first thing that I want to encourage you to do when you are dealing with a narcissist is to have a plan, okay? Knowing exactly what you want your desired outcome to be is absolutely critical, because that really becomes your North Star, and it's the thing that you can come back to again and again and again as the narcissist throws challenges in your way. So there's, one of the things about narcissists is they kind of thrive on the conflict. They really, they want there to be issues. They want there to be, they want you to be engaged. That's really what it is. They really want you to stay engaged with them so that it's a game, right? And the more that you're engaged, the more that they get to play the game with you. So for us as normal humans, that translates into conflict, right? They think it's a game, they think it's fun. But for us, it's conflict, which creates a whole bunch of stress. So having a plan, really taking some time and thinking about what that ultimate outcome for you is, what your desired outcome, and knowing will help you stay focused when the narcissist is doing this to you. And they're trying to, or really more accurately, when they're doing this to you. They're poking you, trying to get you to react and to respond and to stay engaged with them. One of the really important pieces about having a plan, and I think particularly for those of you women that are watching with me, I think it's a little different for us than it is for men. So please, men, correct me if I'm wrong. We often as women, we have this idea that we have this plan and we have this outcome, and we absolutely have to have every single step. We have to know exactly what we're going to do, the how of how we're going to get there, right? And maybe it is similar for men as well. So, for people in general. And if we don't know how we're going to do every single step, we kind of give up, right? Know that when you have your plan for your desired outcome in this situation, you're never going to know the how, right? Because so much of you know that you're starting here, you know you want to come to here. I realize going this way isn't really helpful. You can't see. When you go to here, your process is going to be like this, right? So it's not linear. That's one of the things we get stuck on, is we think our process is linear, and it's not at all. So just knowing that you don't have to have exactly how you're going to get to this desired outcome, knowing that you have it and that you're working on it and that you're working towards it, and that every time you need to have the next step, you will be able to figure out with the information you've already gathered the how for the next step. So keep that in mind. Now this series is taking me a really long time to do because there's a fair bit of vulnerability in it. So we're going to take a second and I'm going to use my real life example, which is I really started this process when I was going through my divorce many, many years ago, and came to the realization of the situation that I was in, which only came to through the thanks of a good friend that I'd had for a really long time, who kind of said to me, don't you realize kind of the situation you're in? So for me, my desired outcome was to get through my divorce and to always appear to be reasonable to the parties involved. That was my primary outcome. And so your outcome can be whatever it is. And mine was really, in that case, was really legally based, right? That was kind of my intention, was through a legal battle, which became very clear to me very early on that was going to be long and painful and expensive. So I had an attorney first that wasn't a good fit and ended up with a second attorney. And I remember saying to him, I just want the people involved in this process to think that to know that I'm reasonable, that I'm a reasonable person. And so every single decision that we made going forward through the divorce was with that end in mind. Is this reasonable to a rational, logical third person who's looking at the situation? Am I acting reasonably? Is this a reasonable request? Am I doing something that makes sense to the vast majority of the population, right? Now, there are two reasons that I did that. Now, I didn't know this at the time, right? It's only in reflection that I figured this out. And I'm recognizing now this live is going to be fairly long, so thank you for watching. Two reasons that it ended up being effective. The first is when you are having conflict with a narcissist, and of course they think it's a game, so they don't see it as conflict, and their intention is to keep you engaged. They make a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise that goes on as the game progresses for them, right? And if you are impacted by that noise, if you don't have a desired outcome and you are impacted by that noise constantly, it's exhausting. You spend all of your time up and down and back and forth, and the narcissist is intentionally trying to squirrel you to this and to that and to this piece, and you can't keep up. And so having a desired outcome ahead of time, taking the time to think about it and plan it, allows you to move through the noise and just ignore it. Now what happens is, we talked about, it's not a linear process. So when the narcissist is doing this to you, when you have your very clearly desired outcome, you have your plan, and they are throwing noise at you, it goes like this, right? It becomes much more like this. And it might start like this, and as you're practicing, then you end up getting more level. There's less extreme that you're dealing with. So that's the first reason that's really helpful to have the plan with the desired outcome. The second is, as I just described, you're going to start like this, and it's going to even out and even out and even out more. As you stay true to your desired plan, the narcissist is going to deteriorate, and they are going to start being a little crazier. They're going to do things that seem more wild to people, and that's really where you gain your traction. That's really where you start to have successes. In my case, I wanted to appear reasonable, and that was really important to me. And so the more I stayed reasonable, and the more I did not play the game, and the more the narcissist deteriorated, the more easy it became to show I was a reasonable person. So there are two kind of really good reasons to have your plan and work your plan. Okay, now I want to tell you, for most of you, depending upon, right, these ideas are sufficient if your narcissist is the neighbor next door that violates your boundaries and, you know, comes over unannounced, or the kind of situation that I was going through, right? The tips and tricks I'm going to give you across this series are going to work regardless of the relationship that you have with your narcissist. That said, the depth to which you have this relationship is going to determine the length of your race. So if you've got if you're just dealing with someone in your sphere that you don't know well, that's an acquaintance that you have to run into, that's kind of difficult and is a pain, right? Your race is going to be more like a 5K, right? Someone that you work with closely, maybe you're looking at a half marathon, all right? Just to kind of give you the analogy, I'm always using running analogies, of course. In my case, I was running an ultra marathon, okay? That was best case scenario, ultra marathon. And so be prepared for that. And in the process of being prepared for that, as it relates specifically to having a plan, is the understanding that you're going to lose some. And I'm sorry to be the one that is really upfront about that. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You're going to feel those early losses more than as you level out and have more successes as the process starts to wind down. So just know, for your sake, for the sake of your children if they're impacted by this, or the people around you, the other relationships that you're trying to maintain, know that in many cases you're in it for the long haul, and take care of yourself. Really, really, really take care of yourself. And understand that those short-term losses are, that sticking with your plan, staying with your plan and moving through it in the long run will pay off. I promise you that, and it will get easier. It gets easier and easier and easier, so keep that in mind. All right, so as we wrap up, again, thanks for sticking with me. I know this live is kind of long, and I recognize they're probably all going to be on the longer side because of the topics that are involved. So I appreciate you staying and watching through. To kind of wrap up in terms of having a plan, the key is knowing what you want, right? I talk about that a lot anyways, knowing what you want. This is really taking some time to really have a clear understanding of what it is that you want for that desired outcome, what you want your plan to be based upon what you want that desired outcome to be, is really, really important. And, you know, what's your reasonable? I gave you my example of what I needed for my plan was to be reasonable and to have that be my North Star. What's your reasonable? What is it, the thing that you want to capture more than anything else in this process as you're going through it? Now, I want to tell you all, you can always get more content if you want to go to my podcast. It's called Life After, from Surviving to Thriving, and the easiest way to find it is going through my website, which is locatecoaching.com. I kind of introduce it to say that the podcast initially started from me doing life skills class at our local domestic violence shelter, and that was really the basis from starting the podcast. And I want to kind of refine that a little bit to say that the vast majority of those things that I teach in life skills and that are going to come through here in this specific series about dealing with a narcissist come from ultimately from my life experience and the things I've learned. And so I'll say to you, as a broader audience, what I say to the clients at the shelter, and that is, I really, really sincerely hope that my life experience can help you manage your process more easily, that your healing happens more quickly, and that you can use all of these resources that I'm hoping to provide to you to improve your life and be where you want, know what you want, and get there. So I hope you guys all have a great day. I'll come back, and usually I'm going to spread these out over a couple of weeks, but if you want to go back and revisit it, of course, it'll be on YouTube. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.